The Xiaomi 14 Ultra is one of the reasons why I do long-term reviews, showcasing how a phone progresses in the longevity of it and what changes makes a difference to it. Because this one didn't start off really well, but later on it definitely got better, but not without its faults that it still carries on from the beginning. Either way, let's dive into the video and talk about what I like and don't like about the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. So this is the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, and Xiaomi is one of those phones when it comes to the camera that really understands photography with style and the dramatic look that you get with it. But this phone had a very rough start because at the beginning it wasn't good. It didn't excel where it was so good, the camera. But in this video, after all the updates I've received so far, let's discuss what I like about the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, but also what I don't. Of course, beginning with the basic specs. We get a 6.73-inch LTPO AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 3000 nits and a resolution of 3200 by 1440. We get from 256GB up to 1TB of UFS 4.0 memory and 12GB of RAM up to 16GB. For the battery, we have a 5000 mAh battery for the global version because the Chinese version has a 5300 mAh battery. You also have reverse wireless charging with 10 watt. USB port is now also finally a 3.2. For the camera, we of course have the 50 megapixel main sensor, and that is a 1-inch sensor size. A 50 megapixel telephoto with a lovely floating lens, which is a 1/2.5 inch sensor size. A 50 megapixel periscope with a 1/2.51 inch sensor size as well. And then the 50 megapixel sensor for the ultra wide. And you guessed it, it's also a 1/2.51 inch sensor size. Max video recording is at 8K and 30 frames per second with different modes you can utilize like Master Cinema at 4K 30 frames per second or log video recording at 4K and 60 frames per second. For the front facing camera we get a 32 megapixel sensor with a 1/3.14 inch sensor size. Now with that out of the way, let's start with what I like about the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. And no shocker that it comes down to the camera once again, even though at the beginning it was as consistent as this channel. But now, I can say when it comes to pictures I've taken have a much better style and the over sharpening isn't an issue like it was before. And sharpening isn't detail, and over sharpening actually loses the feel of the shot itself, and that's an issue that it had at the beginning. So when it comes to the camera these days, shooting different subjects, it again brings back that love that I have for this collaboration between Leica and Xiaomi, giving me a much nicer result and being on par with the Xiaomi 13 Pro in terms of feel. But we're now of course having a better dynamic range to bout with it as well, even though it isn't the best. But when it comes to the camera, the capabilities are really good. I've created amazing shots on this phone, and that includes some edited shots that I've made on this as well, really standing out with the character and the feel that it provides. And that I really want to highlight because that is one of the main reasons why I would go Xiaomi's route. The camera performance and the feel it creates, and therefore it's one of the best things about the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Then we have the display. Again, basically the same story as the Vivo. The display is really solid, good viewing angles, and in terms of the display itself, it of course is without the curved display that we see on, for instance, the Vivo X100 Ultra. So for those who don't like that approach of a curved edge display, this isn't the thing here. It's more of a flat display with rounded edges to it. Brightness is also really solid as well as colors. I really like the display on, of course, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. I will also give credit to the approach of this phone. Something like the camera kit that you get is something that deserves credits. Some changes being made to this is really solid for the camera kit itself. But next time when it comes to the camera kit, I do wish that they would add a tripod mount. Now, no phone is perfect, and the Xiaomi 14 Ultra definitely has its issues. Starting with the one that stands out. Yes, the lack of a 3.5mm headphone jack is a pain, as well as a phone that is so focused on the camera, not having a camera button or worse, no micro SD support. But that's not the most important part, it's battery life. And with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, this is disappointing. Yes, after the updates, this still counts. Can I make it till the end of the day? But it depends on what I'm doing. If I take a lot of shots, I would say, no, I need to charge it in the evening well before I go to sleep. If I play games, I doubt I would as well. Battery life is a big part of it because yes, I've lost moments to capture because of the battery life being dead, and where other phones wouldn't have been. And that part is also down to the next segment, heat. Now of course, CPUs that we have these days in phones are very powerful. This means that heat will be created, so proper heat management is really important. And it has to be really balanced, and that's what I have it on. Balanced. I don't have it on performance ever. And even that goes out of the window together with the battery life that I just spoke about. Having it on balanced performance shouldn't result in this. But when it comes to playing simple games or using it longer or charging the phone up, it heats up. It isn't like the Xiaomi 12 Pro where it becomes uncomfortable to hold at times, as well as the Vivo X90 Pro where it really became uncomfortable to hold at times, but it is warm, and in the summer that's not a pleasant experience at all. And this heat just makes the battery life as well poor. So the CPU or the heat management is one of the things where I feel like Xiaomi really needs to work on. They've done it well with, for instance, the Xiaomi 12X, but with this one, not that good. And then software updates. This I wouldn't say is one of those big hitters, but it's still something that I want to mention. As stated at the beginning, I had issues with the consistency of the camera. Performance was all over the place, but on the Chinese version, this was already fixed mostly. But for us, that update took a while to get in. Those updates are important, even more so if you see the performance at the beginning of the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. And no, I'm not the one that says you need updates all the time. Once a month or even a little bit slower is perfectly fine with me if we don't have major issues with it. But when it comes to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, we did have issues, especially when it comes to the consistency of the camera, the over sharpening, and some issues with the feel itself on the shots. Something that I've pointed out at the beginning as well when it comes to the phone. You can see that on other reviews that I made about it. And this includes pictures like portraits as well, which could be very unusable if it was shots of myself. So they needed to work on that faster, and they didn't. Now portraits still aren't perfect, but they are definitely better, as well as the consistency. But those updates could have been here faster, and they weren't. At the end, when it comes to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, I think there are a lot of aspects that are really good on it. I really love the camera capabilities, even though it has its faults with, for instance, portraits. It's still not there yet. It still needs work on the skin. It can be a little bit not right in terms of my skin especially, but when it comes to just the overall experience with the camera, definitely there were a lot of improvements when it comes to it, especially the over sharpening that it had at the beginning of the release. Though there are things that definitely still needs work. For instance, battery life isn't good because, simply put, this phone heats up and therefore you get lesser battery life. Either way, at the end, I think that the Xiaomi 14 Ultra is an excellent phone, but not without its faults. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this update video on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Let me know if you have any questions about it. And of course, if you aren't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe, like the video and all that stuff. And talk to you guys in the next.